Hey gang, welcome to the mini lecture on the art of listening. You know, we are taught that being a fantastic speaker, getting our clear message out there is the ultimate skill. But truth be told, in most situations, it's actually listening that really matters. So let's think about why this is considered a critical leadership skill, why it's the topmost quality of empathy, and we're going to dive into all these questions. Is listening better or is it speaking in this segment? Now picture this, you're in a workplace, someone just keeps talking without taking a moment to listen. It can be really frustrating. You might find yourself thinking that you could learn so much more by simply listening instead of being bombarded with constant chatter. It is no surprise that people with excellent listening skills tend to stand out, whether it's during an interview or in the quest for promotions. But have you wondered why that is? Could it be because they're absorbing information rather than just dishing out their own thoughts? And listening isn't just a handy skill, it's also a leadership quality. Good listeners often wield more influence because they actively soak up info, they expand their wisdom, and most importantly, they show genuine care for other people. Think of it as a way of valuing and respecting the perspectives of people around you. And we can add another layer to this, that careful listeners can distinguish between well-founded ideas and those filled with nonsense or errors. So if you're not the best listener right now, you can hone your skill over time. We all can. Another bonus to listening: seeking and taking advice can make you look pretty impressive because it's a sign of thoughtfulness and a commitment to making informed decisions. So rather than relying solely on our own ideas, we show strength and wisdom when we value the input of other people. And whether you're on your first date or your 91st date, giving somebody your undivided attention is a huge thing. So put the phone down, flip it over, resist the urge to get distracted by TV screen or other folks, and make meaningful eye contact. Trust me, it'll make you more attractive and your friends will trust you more. So giving someone your full attention is huge. We all love it and people love to get it. Let's think about misconceptions about listening. First off, we know hearing and listening aren't the same thing. We can hear things without paying attention. And listening is natural, but like any skill, we can improve it, we can refine it, and not everyone in this room hears the exact same message. We all have our unique filters, as we recall from the transactional model, noise that affect what we retain from a conversation. Environment, history, those all impact our listening. An easy way to remember the listening steps is the HURIER model, H-U-R-I-E-R. This is for the listening process. Let's break it down. So H is hearing. 2, understanding for you. Remembering, R. Interpreting, I. Evaluating, E. And responding. It's a handy way to remember all the key aspects of listening. So hearing, let's talk about that first. The initial step is hearing. This involves sound waves hitting our eardrums and transmitting vibrations to the brain. But the real challenge is the attending, paying attention, and that's where the magic of hearing and listening truly begins. Great, so let's keep going. Next up, understanding, which involves making sense of what someone has just shared with us. Think of it as grasping the true essence of their message. We can even call this listening fidelity, where fidelity refers to how closely we align with the truth of what that communicator is trying to tell us. So understanding is about getting on the same wavelength. Moving on, remembering. So we realize that listening doesn't stop at understanding. Surprisingly, studies show we can only retain about half of what we even actually listen to during a conversation, even when we're trying, half. And here's the kicker: after a few months, we may lose half of that. So we get about 25% of what we initially heard. And this is called the residual message. It's a tiny amount that we remember after that time. The next crucial step is interpreting. So once we've heard and understood and remembered, it is time to interpret that message. So this involves not only comprehending the message, but also understanding context and the underlying reasons for receiving the message. So we can rely on our relationships with the communicator and the situational cues to decipher what's going on, the interpreting. Next, on to step 5, evaluation. And here, we're assessing whether we can trust the person who delivered the message. We weigh things like, how well do we know them? What about the credibility of what they're saying? Whether that message seems logical, right, and valid to us. It's all about making judgments and determining the reliability of the information. Last, we have responding, and this is where we offer feedback to the communicator. It could be nonverbal, like we're nodding in agreement or shaking our heads to show disagreement, saying things like, those are nonverbal. Making eye contact is another huge way to signal that we're actively engaged in listening. And of course, there's verbal feedback too, like saying, that makes sense, or expressing appreciation for their insights. So responding essentially completes the listening model by letting the speaker know that we're not just hearing them, we're actively participating in the conversation. So as you can see, listening is a multi-step process. It goes far beyond just hearing the words. It involves understanding, remembering, interpreting, evaluating, and responding. So it makes it a complex but super essential skill for effective communication. Our journey through the world of listening can indeed be a bit tricky with various hazards to navigate. So let's take a closer look at some of the challenges that we encounter. Interference or noise. Remember the transactional model of communication? We encountered interference, which is referred to as noise. And this can take many forms, such as message overload. That's too much info at once, or rapid thoughts. Our minds are racing ahead of what we're listening to, or psychological noise, which is our distractions, our worries in our minds, how we're feeling. Physiological noise could be bodily discomfort or external noise like background noise. And even cultural differences can be a form of interference because different groups have different norms for communication. For example, texting during conversation could be accepted in one culture but seen as really disrespectful in another, and that can even be generational cultures. Then we have harmful listening habits. Beyond the external challenges, we have to contend with our own listening habits. Habits that we are used to, but maybe we should examine, some of which can be detrimental to effective communication. So first, we've got pseudo-listening. This is that polite form of listening when we pretend to listen, but we're actually thinking about something else or not even paying attention. Selective listening, we focus only on specific parts of the message that interest us while we ignore the rest. Defensive listening, sometimes we perceive people as attacking us when they're just trying to communicate something, leading to us having a defensive response. Insulated listening, if there are certain topics we want to avoid, we might tune out those when the subjects come up in conversation. Insensitive listening, some people take statements at face value. They miss the nonverbal cues or context surrounding them. So if you say something and use a tone to indicate you don't mean it, they don't get it. Conversational narcissists. This is when someone makes the conversation all about them or their favorite topics without really considering the other people. So let's say you're telling your friend about your car accident and they jump in and tell you all about their flat tire without listening to you. It's really frustrating. Stage hogs. These people cannot resist interrupting others, and they're always trying to take the spotlight in conversations. And then talking too much. There's the habit of dominating conversations by talking and not giving others a chance to express themselves. Interestingly, even though our culture often values talking as a sign of strength, listening is, in fact, a more powerful quality. It allows us to connect with other people on a deeper level and understand their perspectives and build trust. So as we explore the intricacies of listening, let's remember being a great listener can be a superpower in our communication toolkit. And absolutely, those moments when somebody says something hurtful or offensive can be tough for us to handle. But there are some great tips that can help us listen non-defensively, because partly we want to be able to maintain our relationship, not impact it, not harm it, and sometimes we need to be able to listen to people even if it's hard. So maintaining our composure and self-esteem, first take a deep breath and reflect on your good qualities. Instead of immediately reacting defensively, take a moment to remind yourself of your positive qualities. Focus on the fact that you are a valuable and capable individual. And don't stop listening. Avoid negative self-talk. So resist any urge to engage in negative self-talk. Don't start thinking, I'm not good at anything, or I'm a horrible person. Just remind yourself of your strengths and your achievements. Balance it out. Third, embrace imperfection. Understand nobody's perfect. That includes you, that includes me. Even highly successful individuals make mistakes, and we can learn from how they handle it. So give yourself permission to be imperfect and learn from your experiences. 4, express gratitude. So sometimes it's hard to tell someone something that's difficult. So thank the speaker for sharing their thoughts, even if those thoughts are critical. It takes courage to provide feedback to people, and acknowledging that can help diffuse defensiveness. 5, ask clarifying questions. So try to understand the speaker's perspective better by asking questions. Might be hard, but do your best. You might inquire about what led them to say what they did or what prompted the conversation. Clarifying questions can provide really valuable insights. 6, learn and grow. Every conversation offers an opportunity for learning and personal growth. Approach each interaction with an open mind and the intention to learn from it, and consider it a chance to gain insights and improve yourself. Okay, now we know how to handle tougher conversations. Let's explore 5 different types of listening, each with its unique purpose and context. So we've got relational listening, supportive listening, task-oriented listening, analytical listening, and critical listening. Let's look at each. I'm sure you can guess that relational listening is all about building and maintaining relationships. So it involves actively listening to understand the emotions and the concerns and the needs of the other people. And this, of course, can foster trust and build relationships and connections. It takes time, it takes attention, and it takes openness to do. Supportive listening. When someone's facing challenges or difficulties, supportive listening is key. We all need it from time to time. And there's a range of responses that we can offer in these situations. So first is quiet listening. Often the most appreciated response is just listening quietly, allowing that person to talk about their feelings and thoughts without being interrupted. And next, you can offer help depending on the situation. We might offer practical assistance like running errands or providing a helping hand. Do not offer advice. You got to refrain from giving advice. We all want to give advice. We all hate taking advice. Always respect the other person's agency in seeking guidance. If they ask for it, you can offer it. If they don't offer it. Listen without judgment. Please try to be non-judgmental when you're being a good listener. Everyone's entitled to their feelings. It's just not our place to evaluate or criticize their emotions. Everyone's emotions are valid. So supportive listening involves showing empathy and understanding. The next kind is task-oriented listening, and just like it says, task-oriented listening focuses on understanding what needs to be done, how to do it. So this type of listening is seen in like professional or academic contexts. Here you pay attention to key ideas and you ask clarifying questions. And sometimes you take notes to ensure that you grasp the information accurately. Another great way to tell that you are getting the idea is paraphrasing. Saying back to the speaker what you heard, not adding, not necessarily interpreting, but just saying, here's what I heard. Next up, we have analytical listening. This looks to delve deeper into the content and meaning of a message. So you might use this type of listening when you need to understand a complex issue, explore different perspectives, or get insights into somebody's emotions or their reasoning. So it involves considering various viewpoints and frameworks to comprehend that message fully. Last is critical listening. It's not criticizing. Critical listening is about assessing the quality and validity of what is being communicated. It's not about criticizing somebody, but evaluating the information itself. So when you practice critical listening, you question whether the topic is substantial, if the ideas presented hold truth and value, and this type of listening helps you become a discerning consumer, let's say, of information and ideas. And by recognizing the different types of listening, applying the appropriate one in various situations, you and I can become more effective communicators and supportive presence in our relationships and interactions. We're going to wrap up with mindful listening, an essential skill. It can really enhance our communication and our relationships. 4 valuable tips for mindful listening. Attention. Paying attention when it's necessary, even when it's tough. Just as running a race demands physical energy, so does listening. Mental effort costs us, and you want to be fully present and engaged in the moment. It's a gift, and it takes energy. Commitment. So commit to being fully present. Eliminate distractions. Put away your phone, tune out other noises, try to clear your mind and focus. Dedicate yourself to that conversation that's happening. Acknowledgement. So recognize and acknowledge that you've got feelings during the conversation. It's okay to have emotions and reactions, and understanding why you feel a certain way can help you actually maintain focus on the conversation. And you're not needing to suppress your own feelings. Silently acknowledge them to yourself. Then be patient. Practice patience, allowing the conversation to flow without trying to rush it, without interrupting, without contradicting. Take some deep, slow breaths if you need to. Maintain patient and mindful throughout the whole interaction. So as you go through your week, try to observe yourself, your listening habits, and your goals. Remember, listening is a practice and it'll never be perfect. So are you actively practicing mindful listening, or do distractions and harmful habits creep in? What are your goals when you're listening? Okay, it's all part of our journey toward becoming a better listener. Thanks for taking time out of your day to listen to all of this, and I wish you meaningful and mindful conversations. Thank you. Bye.